This is politically, a lot has been said by the POJK puppet prime minister who's been fixed there because he believed he is being treated badly by the PoK Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. This war of words erupted between Shehbaz Sharif and the Prime Minister of PoK-occupied Kashmir, Tanveer Ilyas Khan, at the inauguration of the Mangla Dam hydroelectric power plant in PoK-occupied Kashmir. Sardar Tanveer Ilyas Khan heckled PoK Prime Minister for not letting him speak and ignoring the plight and contributions of the people of PoK. In an angry rant after the spat, Tanveer Ilyas Khan called Shehbaz Sharif indecent, illiterate and a thief. He accused Sharif of acting like a king, insulting democracy and the people of PoK-occupied Kashmir, adding that he is not fit even to be a chowkidar. Interestingly, Tanveer Ilyas Khan hails from Pakistan Insaf, which is Imran Khan's party. Let's listen into this entire spat. A lot of choices words have been used and expletives have also come into the play. We've tried to sanitize the conversation as much as we can to make it able for anybody to watch it here on television. Listen in.
I'm very grateful to all of you. नहीं बात में बैठेंगे प्लीज मैं आपसे बात करेंगे ना मैं बात करेंगे आपसे सो प्लीज मेरी बात सुनिए जरा आजाद कश्मीर के लिए दे आपसे बात करेंगे प्राइम साहब बैठे हैं आप बात करेंगे
शहबाज शरीफ का जो मेरे साथ था जो उसका अंदाज था जो रवैया था ना जैसे वो यहाँ पे चौधरी और जागीरदार ये अतक अमेज रवैया इंतई बदतमीज़ाना कोता अंदेश अक्ल से पैदल शऊर नाम की चीज उनके कोसों दूर होगी उनको समझ नहीं कि शऊर क्या होता इल्म क्या होता है फरासत किसको कहते हैं सियासियात और जमहूरियत किसका नाम कुछ रवायात और कुछ चीजों का उसको पता ही नहीं है और मैं ऐसे आदमी को ऐसी चाहिए तो चौकीदार लगने के काबिल नहीं आदमी ये क्या चीज है दुनिया जान का उसको याद आई कि किस किस का शुक्रिया अदा करना नहीं आए तो कश्मीरी याद है तो मेरा ये था कि मैं खड़ा होकर ये कहूंगा कि इज्जत माफ जनाब वज़ीर आज़म वर्दी प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऑफ पाकिस्तान लेकिन उस कमबख्त ने चोर ने अक्ल से पैदल आदमी ने मौका ही नहीं दिया उसने मुझे टोकना शुरू कर दिया वज़ीर आज़म को ने अपनी इज्जत मैंने वहां पे बचाई है
And after that kind of language that was used for Shehbaz Sharif by Ilyas Khan, now after this entire spat, the Islamabad police have sealed the Centaurus Mall in Islamabad, which is owned by Tanveer Ilyas Khan. And this is an overnight raid where they have cited safety violations. So look what is playing out. A POJK versus PoK situation, a PTI, PoK Insaf versus the opposition-led coalition situation where Shehbaz Sharif represents the PMLN, and of course that's a coalition which also has the likes of PPP as part of it. So this is what you do. You call me expletives, you call me choicest of names and adjectives, then this is what will happen. Your mall will be sealed. And that's exactly this big Centaurus mall has now been sealed for safety violations. These are visuals of the mall being sealed a day after Tanveer Ilyas Khan went berserk with his verbal tirade against Shehbaz Sharif. Alok Bansalji, Director, India Foundation, with us, and Dr. Tara Karta, former Director, National Security Council Secretariat, also with us. Would you just label it to a political fight, or is this a manifestation of a certain level of frustration in POJK? And will this POJK versus PoK situation further boil? Alok Bansalji.
See, this spat is very, very important. Firstly, it actually shatters the facade which Pakistan has created, whereby they call them AJK, Azad. Azad my foot. You could see the way POJK Prime Minister was actually consigned to the sidelines during that inauguration ceremony of 5th and 6th unit of the Mangla Dam. And his frustration, because Shehbaz Sharif thanked everybody except for the people whose land was submerged. People of Mirpur, he did not. And that's where I think the POJK Prime Minister got irritated. And then, of course, what all he said is in public domain. So this shows, I think, the anger that has been actually building up within the people of these occupied territories has actually manifested. And because the Tanveer was aware of the anger, he wanted that at least Shehbaz Sharif should pay the lip service to them by saying that I accept their sacrifices, which he did not. And that's why you saw this eruption and calling of bad words, calling him chore and not even capable of being a chowkidar. So that shows his level of frustration. Of course, there is a political divide in Pakistan that we know because he is a PTI chap and Shehbaz Sharif is PMLN, which of course is all pervasive at this point of time in Pakistan. Most of the provincial governments are PTI governments and their chief ministers, and in this particular case, the so-called prime minister are averse to Shehbaz Sharif and his government.
But in this case, this is also, was Shehbaz Sharif a little more civil in his response to Tanveer Ilyas compared to the other way around, Dr. Tara Karta? Or do you see this snowballing into a major fight and a certain amount of civic unrest? Because that region, POJK, has been rife with a lot of civic unrest and dissonance with the Pak military and the Pak establishment.
Yeah, whatever the case may be, I think it's going a bit over the top to seal an entire mall because this man made the so-called prime minister made his differences clear, and his differences, as Alok says, they are genuine problems that so many people of Mirpur have been lost their lands in two successive waves. It's not even one. They haven't got the money they were promised. And he says, I think some couple of billion rupees was promised by the PTI government, which obviously the next government didn't give. Now, what you've done is you've closed an entire mall and driven people out of business because of this, what this man said. You know, that is, one is, of course, the fact that he owns a mall at all, which is an interesting fact. But the other is the overreaction by, I think, probably the establishment in saying, how dare you, confront the Pak Prime Minister, and what that just shows what kind of independence there is. And also, it's worth recalling that this Sardar Tanveer Ilyas got a total of, I think, 33 votes or something. He was booted out by his own party. The earlier prime minister was pushed out by his own party. And this man brought in by decree from Imran Khan with 33 votes. So he'll do pretty much anything to get some popularity there.
But the choice of words, this kind of tone and tonality, is this again is this a trend that you see, that political parties that are opposing each other get downright dirty and nasty in the kind of words that they use? Or is there more to it than just a political fight? Did Tanveer Ilyas use these kind of words for Shehbaz Sharif because he is from PMLN and the PTI largely blames Nawaz Sharif, that is Shehbaz's brother, for orchestrating this entire dethroning of Imran Khan? Does it stem from there? Did Shehbaz Sharif not want to be seen sharing the dais with somebody who's from PTI, the arch enemy? Or is this the second-hand treatment given to POJK all along? While to the world they try and portray it as Azad, here it is nothing but the behavior of an occupier, which they truly are.
Yeah, I think your second.
Alokji and then Taraji. Yeah.
This is what I was trying to say, that Pakistan has always treated these regions as occupied territories, colonies. In fact, there have been occasions when the so-called AJK president from office has been taken to jail. And we have seen the way they have dealt with him. His private property has been captured in Islamabad, the mall has been arrested. So this is the whole facade which they try to project to the world. The so-called Azad, an independent state. This whole facade has gone. You saw the way he was seated, the way he was being ignored by Shehbaz Sharif. And the language, of course, as you said, PTI has been extremely vociferous, and Imran himself has not been a miser with words. He has called them anything and everything. And I think as far as Sharifs are concerned, for him, they are chores and dakus. And that's what he has been saying repeatedly. And I think those terminologies have been used by his henchmen. Shehbaz Sharif, of course, I do agree, has been a little more civic, but Shehbaz Sharif has never been a mass leader. He has never been a mass leader. He has never been a great orator. And he, unlike his brother, he has generally been considered a mellower person, more pro-establishment man who is willing to unlock horns with them as compared to his brother. So that is his nature. But this sort of an event shows the fissures between not only the two political parties, but also shows the growing anguish within the population of POJK against the Pakistani occupation.
Ji, quick word, Taraji, before we move on to Jammu and Kashmir. There are developments there, but you were saying something. Ji.
No, I think it's been the treatment meted out always, to earlier Farooq Haider, who was an earlier premier. The way he was treated by Islamabad was absolutely shameful. Though in this case, I agree with Alok. Shehbaz Sharif is on the whole a more decent, quiet man rather than this normal politician you find. But there is a huge, what shall I say? There's a huge difference in the way we would treat a chief minister in public and the way these people treat the POK, the so-called prime minister. There is a massive difference.
Ji. We're quickly shifting focus to Jammu and Kashmir and the latest that's coming through. There has been an internal security meeting that's been held after there was tension that gripped the Jammu and Kashmir, largely with the Lashkar-e-Taiba's front, the TRF, putting out the names of 56 Kashmiri Pandits and saying that they will be targeted. These Kashmiri Pandits had been sent into Jammu and Kashmir specifically on government appointments, and they were government Pandit employees whose list has come out. There was a high-level meeting on the security situation. The meeting was chaired by the Union Home Secretary Ajay Kumar Bhalla, RNAW Chief and National Security Advisor Ajit Doval were also present at the meeting. On Monday, the Pandit community had staged a protest seeking relocation from Kashmir to Jammu due to the terror threat. Now, with this fresh threat, they have now intensified the entire agitation that's happened. Alok Bansalji is with us, Tara Kartaji also with us. Taraji, how would you see this? Is this this rabble-rousing attempt? Clearly, there are moles within who have furbished these names and passed it on to these terror outfits. But the anxiety within the Pandit community, especially in Kashmir, what can be done to assuage them? Should they insist on coming back, or should there be some hard steps that would be taken to ensure that no one dares to try and threaten them again?
I don't think their coming back is, sort of leaving Kashmir is going to solve anything. It is, I mean, a lot in Delhi, a lot of hard work has gone into making sure that they go back and they live peacefully. Second is that we expected this, right? We knew that this would happen, that there would be attempts by terror groups to prevent this happening. That destroys all Pakistan's plans if they become one homogeneous community again, which at one time they were. As we know, the Muslims and the Hindu Pandits lived peacefully together for years. So if the NSA is landed up there, then obviously they are going to take very tough measures. I think the Pandit community can be assured that whatever can be done will be done. They should not leave. They should not be in that. It's easy for me to say staying here, right? But still, it's not. You can't walk away from your home. It's tragic.
No, because Alokji, when questioned about overreaction of the Pandit community, especially since the abrogation of Article 370, the number of Kashmiri Pandits who've been targeted is worrying, yes, but those numbers, there are many who believe that there are far many more other Kashmiris, non-Pandit Kashmiris and non-Pandit, Indian citizens who have been also targeted by the terrorists. So should everybody leave Jammu and Kashmir and leave the valley? Is that the solution? But the Pandit community is also very strongly argued, Alokji, that this has been rushed. The system has not been cleansed and the atmosphere is not right for syncretic existence. The Islamist bent and thought process, that soch continues to remain in Kashmir. Until that is removed or that is weeded out, syncretism cannot return. Alokji, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry, my was mute. So I just wanted to say that the Pandits have been threatened, and I think this is an attempt at psychological warfare where the list has been published. This is to put pressure on them, because this puts enormous pressure on these people, because they've been their family members get worried, because once a name has been published, they are obviously threatened. So Pandits are threatened, but nobody should leave Kashmir, because see, foolproof security will never be there. The government must take measures. Firstly, who has published those people must be identified and eliminated. Who's trying to disseminate this list? They also must be taken to task. Now, all these factors need to be done. The government needs to bolster their security, but by no stretch of imagination should we look at evacuating everybody from Kashmir. That would be a big defeatist step. Yes, those who are threatened must be provided foolproof security. and that is what the government needs to do. And as you rightly brought out, I think the number of people who have been killed by militants who belong to Kashmiri Pandit community are probably lesser than those from other communities if we take the numbers alone.
No, but the larger apprehension is this is how it all started late in the 80s, and it then started building up. So is there going to be a repeat? Clearly, times are different. The approach of the establishment is different, but the worries remain. And of course, it is innocents who are dying to Pak-sponsored bullets at the hands of these terrorists. We've just got news coming through, and we try and go across to Arnima for this. Sources are saying that in this entire review meeting, which had the presence of not just the Union Home Secretary, the NSA, the RAW Chief. There are certain aspects that were discussed, mainly speeding up of the cases, pendency of cases in the courts, trying those who've been booked under UAPA, improving the rate of conviction that's been discussed. And also there has been talk about security to the Pandits and non-locals that's been discussed, along with the frequency of the drone drops, arms and and narcotics or drugs. So there are multiple layers to which this entire security review has looked at, and they've looked at a comprehensive review. All aspects have been spoken about. We'll try and go across to Arnima in just a bit, and we'll also come to the sudden spate of seizures that have also been made. That's the next story here on the Nation at 5. But first to Arunima. Arunima, so clearly cognizance has been taken of this letter, this threat note. The challenge is to weed out the OGWs, weed out the sympathizers within the system, because this list has been leaked.
Yes, and also to look at the arms and ammunition, the logistics, the funding that is coming in for those who are carrying out the terror act. The conspiracy, of course, is being hashed from across the border. The conspiracy has as its part to drop in narcotics, to drop in arms and ammunition via drone. And because dropping it in Jammu and Kashmir is becoming difficult, so Punjab seems to be the latest target. So what was also discussed was as to how to prevent the drone droppings of arms and ammunition in Punjab, and then further smuggling of it from Punjab to Jammu and Kashmir. That is the first step. And then the next step, of course, is plugging of that leak. That is something that the government is quite concerned about. Kashmiri organizations have come out and said that, you have to make people accountable. And what was also discussed was not just Kashmiri Pandits, but also the security of the non-locals. Because the hybrid terrorists, as the police calls them, have gone after non-locals as well, people from other parts of the country who've gone to Kashmir to earn a livelihood. So all of this was discussed. And an important point that was raised was the UAPA cases and low rate of conviction. As per NCRB data, 95% or more of the total number of UAPA cases registered are in Jammu and Kashmir, but the rate of conviction is very low. So the Home Secretary also wanted to know what is being done about that. The State Investigation Agency is one answer, and there were issues with local service providers that were also flagged off.
Well, thank you for your input. So comprehensive review that's been undertaken, Dr. Tarakarta, but there have to be some concrete steps, because if Jammu and Kashmir is going to move towards elections come spring, once the delimitation exercise is over, the voter base and all of that is calculated, and if Jammu and Kashmir is going to have an elected government, then all stakeholders, all those people who have roots in Kashmir should have the right to vote and also live in Kashmir, just like they do across the rest of the country. There are perhaps, will you see that these are also elements who are being goaded to try and create this atmosphere so that return of all people who have roots in Kashmir is also denied? Because that will also skew the political narrative of those who have for long supported soft separatism and also fanned this terrorism.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, actually. I was just going to say that there is a lot of other sources also who will support this kind of fear mongering, kind of thing. But also, I think what you said earlier, that the center also needs to make sure that this hardcore Hindutva, so-called quote-unquote Hindutva agenda is not pushed, because they themselves, the Pandits in Kashmir themselves, don't want that, because they want to sort of meld with the society. Third point is, if I don't know if this is relevant, but it seems to me this is happening post the new Pakistan Army chief taking over. Whether that has an angle, we'll have to wait and see.
Well, they just don't seem to stop their obsession with something that is not theirs. And they also have totally mismanaged something that they are squatting on. So that's the reality with the Pakistanis. And in the process, जो उनके 4 सूबे हैं, वो भी that are also fast hurtling towards balkanization, and the nation is heading towards bankruptcy. But that's a story for another day and a discussion on another day. But for the moment, thank you very much, Alok Bansalji and Dr. Tara Karta. Always a pleasure speaking with you. We're going to take a very short break. Stay with us.
Traders are not only being prevented from setting up shop, they're also illegally being kept out of the streets leading out to the temples. Could you tell us more?
There is no doubt that it is violating one's fundamental right to carry out trade and profession. And it is also no doubt that it is politically motivated by the BJP, and more so to gain its polarization of votes for the purpose of elections. And since the BJP has nothing to say about its development in the state of Karnataka and has been involved in communal clashes or spreading the communal clashes or hatred, and somehow it wants to see that the law and order in the state should not be in control, and there should be some agitation, there should be some law and order problems, by which they want to gain political.
Okay, Sanket, can I very quickly ask you, because we do have a BJP spokesperson with us right now, so I do want to ask you very quickly before we go over to them. The BJP has alleged again and again that it was back in 2002 when the Congress was in power that the leasing of land around temples was banned to non-Hindus. Is that accurate?
Leasing of land is different. Allowing someone to carry out trade and profession is different. There are some street hawkers, like wherein the lease will not be granted to them, they still carry out certain business, small petty businesses. Like someone is selling the balloons, someone is selling
sir, but the BJP could easily argue that what they're doing is just another version of what your party did back in 2002, where a call for a ban on Muslim temple traders continues. Remember, this is not the first time we're coming across this call. There have been reports of such calls coming in since all the way back in March this year. We've seen multiple Hindu outfits mount pressure on various temple authorities. What they're trying to do is ban Muslim traders ahead of the annual temple fairs that take place across the state. Specifically right now, though, for this story, we're focusing on Udupi. You've had traders and authorities in the area write letters to the Muzrai department to ban Muslim traders for the upcoming popular temple fairs. But again, as I told you earlier, this is not the first time that we're seeing such calls. Back in March, you'd seen appeals for such calls right before the March-May annual festivities that take place. Now, I just want to check if we have a reporter connected with us already. My colleague Ritu is with us right now to bring us more details. Ritu, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Ritu, could you just explain to our audiences this demand that's coming through that we're telling our audiences right now? If it were actually implemented, would it be legal, and how would it be implemented? How do traders hope it will be implemented? Could you tell us more?
First point is that this is not something new that we're getting to see here in the Karnataka. As Karnataka is heading into an assembly election, these incidents are actually coming into the light often now. But yes, earlier as well we had seen this taking up a huge turn again from the coastal belt of the Karnataka itself, where in the Udupi itself we had seen a popular temple where there was again a call for the ban of the Muslim traders, because what these Hindu outfits are actually alleging is that the community which is involved in anti-national activities and also has a plan of coming up with a big conspiracy against the society must not be permitted to do the trade during the temple fairs. So now this is another incident that we're getting to hear from the Udupi district, where the popular annual fairs are upcoming, and the two specially popular temple fairs, that is in the Udupi district itself, Koteshwara temple and also another temple of Durga Parmeshwara temple fair as well, one which is slated to be on the 8th and another one again after a couple of days days itself. So that actually is a very big temple fairs in the Udupi district. During this time we get to see a huge public gathering as well, and there is again a big scope for the business too during this festivals in the district. So now ahead of that popular temple fairs, again there is a call that has been given to ban for the Muslim traders. But yes, we had seen earlier as well how the state government has went forward and also had supported in some way, saying that the state government in fact stands and defends this kind of step coming in from the Hindu outfits as well, because what again the rules also states as per this Karnataka state government is also that the Muslim traders, or for that matter the other community members, should not be allowed to do business during the temple fair, especially on the premises of the temple itself. So there is a ban on that. So that had been the defense of the state government. But meanwhile, you see the Hindu outfits are continuing, and this kind of a chorus is actually growing here in the Karnataka ahead of the assembly elections.
Okay, but Ritu, what I want to understand from you is when you take a look at Karnataka, the history is so integrated. You have an example, you have the Bappanadu temple, for example, that was built by a Muslim merchant years ago, decades and decades ago. Temples like that, I know that this year that temple saw the banning of Muslim traders. When the community is so integrated, how is such a ban even being implemented?
Very true, see that again there's too many aspects as well that we'll also try and have to try and look after it, because one, in the Karnataka that we're talking about, you see the state heading into an assembly election, these kind of incidents have actually become very normal, where Hindu outfits are actually often coming out and saying that there should be a ban on the Muslim traders on the temple premises, because the community is often seen with the anti-national activities. Now you remember in this particular incident as well, what the Hindu outfits are actually saying is that there have been an incident that we have often reported of anti-national activities and the conspiracies actually being hashed against the temple itself. So thus this community should not be permitted to do trade on the temple premises during the fair, and moreover the Hindu traders should be given an...
Ritu, I want to understand from you, how is the actual enforcing taking place? Could you tell our audiences? Because I know that such banning has already taken place in this past year, how was that enforced? What did the district officials practically actually do on the ground?
There are a couple of challenges again here. One will have to ensure that the law and order on the ground has been maintained, and again what the state government also states also becomes an important point during this juncture. So yes, now the state government also going on to defend this kind of steps, and earlier as well we had seen the ban of the Muslim traders on the temple premises. There is again likely that that's a similar.
Back on the nation at 5 with the latest on the border brawl that's brewing between Karnataka and Maharashtra. It's a historic fight, and it tends to get a little more fuel every time, and it gets stoked every time there are some elections polls around the corner. And this time around, once again, the MES in Belagavi is getting active. The Shiv Sena is getting active on ground over on the other side in Kolhapur. But what's happening, it's intensifying. It's spilling away from just the border into the streets and other parts of the states, both in Karnataka and in Maharashtra. Ruckus was seen at the Belagavi border, where Kannada activists protested against the proposed visit of Maharashtra minister. Reacting to the vandalism, Maharashtra activists stopped a bus from Karnataka to Pune. All buses from Kolhapur towards Belagavi have all now been stopped by the MSRTC as a matter of precaution. All buses flying towards Karnataka for the moment. Cops have detained some of the protesters. NCP chief Sharad Pawar has now issued a warning saying that if attacks on Maharashtra vehicles don't stop in the next 24 hours, then Chief Minister Bommai will be answerable. He's also said that he will meet the Union Home Minister, that is Amit Shah, on Wednesday and discuss the entire matter with him. Meanwhile, Karnataka Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai has claimed that the state government is committed to protecting Kannada inhabitants in Maharashtra, and that the state is confident of winning the case in the Honorable Supreme Court.
ಇದಕ್ಕೂ ಚುನಾವಣೆಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಇದು ಭಾಳ ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಮಹಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದವರು ವಿವಾದ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಿಂದ ವಿವಾದ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಮಹಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರದವರ ವಿವಾದ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಇವತ್ತು ಎರಡೂ ಕಡೆ ಪ್ರತಿಕ್ರಿಯೆ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಇನ್ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೇನೆ, ಜನರ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಸಾಮರಸ್ಯ ಇದೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ಕದಲುವಂಥ ಕೆಲಸ ಬೇಡ. ಮತ್ತು ಸುಪ್ರೀಂ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಸ್ ಇರೋದರಿಂದ ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಕೇಸು ಸಂವಿಧಾನಬದ್ಧವಾಗಿದೆ, ಕಾನೂನುಬದ್ಧವಾಗಿದೆ. ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ನಮಗೆ ವಿಶ್ವಾಸ ಇದೆ ಲೀಗಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಟಲ್ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಗೆಲ್ತೀವಿ. ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ನಮಗೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಚುನಾವಣೆ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಕೋನವೂ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ವಿವಾದವನ್ನು ನಾವು ಎಬ್ಬಿಸಬೇಕನ್ನುವಂಥ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಗಡಿ ರಕ್ಷಣೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಬದ್ಧರಾಗಿದ್ದೇವೆ ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಜನರನ್ನ
मैंने पहले ही बताया कि यहाँ के डिप्टी सीएम ने बात की है, वहाँ के सबने सीएम ने इन्वेस्टिगेशन करने की बात की है. वही कहते ना, महाराष्ट्र की गाड़ी पर हमला हो रही है, वहाँ से जाने आने वाले लोगों को तकलीफ दे रहे. वहाँ सीमा जो है गढ़ हिंगलत निफानी के आगे, वहाँ के लोगों से बात की तो उन लोगों के ऊपर भी एक तरह से दहशत का माहौल पैदा करने की साजिश हो रही है.
Where is Chandrakant?
राज्य के मुख्यमंत्री ने औरंगाबाद में जाहिर सभा में कहा कि मैं नरेंद्र मोदी और अमित शाह का हस्तक हूं. इसका मतलब है कि केंद्र के ये दो लोगों के इशारे पे महाराष्ट्र को तोड़ा जा रहा है, महाराष्ट्र को बर्बाद किया जा रहा है. मुंबई को भी अब कैसे एक व्यक्ति के हाथ में देकर मुंबई को भी महाराष्ट्र से कैसा छीना जाएगा, क्योंकि कोलीवाड़ा का भी अभी प्लानिंग शुरू हो चुका है कि सब कोलीवाड़ा भी उसी व्यक्ति के हाथ में दिए जाए. और इस तरह तबाही महाराष्ट्र के करने का काम केंद्र सरकार के इशारे पे महाराष्ट्र पे चल रही है. महाराष्ट्र में सरकार ही नहीं है, महाराष्ट्र में केंद्र सरकार के इशारे पे चलने वाली सरकार बनी हुई है और महाराष्ट्र बर्बाद करना ये चाहते हैं और महाराष्ट्र की जनता ये कदापि ये सहन नहीं करेगी.
Let's go across to Harish Upadhyay, Vinay Deshpande joining us from Bengaluru and also from Mumbai, the Karnataka, Maharashtra perspective. But let's first go to Chandrakant Sugandhi of News 18, who's joining us from the Belagavi border. Chandrakant, namaste. What is the situation? बताया जा रहा है हाईवे बंद कर दिया है, MSRTC की बसें नहीं आ रही हैं, क्या सिचुएशन है वहाँ?
अभी तो बेलगाम से और महाराष्ट्र से दोनों तरफ से बसों को बंद किया जाए, क्योंकि कर्नाटक रक्षा वेदी के लिए जो लारी के ऊपर हमला किया था उसके बदले में अभी बसेस को बंद किया गया है. पुणे में कर्नाटका बस के ऊपर जो हल्ला हो गया, इसलिए से दोनों राज्यों का बस बंद किया गया है. और प्रमुख अभी बेलगाम के चन्नम्मावरता में मैं हूँ, इधर पुलिस बंदोबस्त नियोजन किया गया है. सुबह से आज बेलगाम में कर्नाटक रक्षा वेदी के बेंगलुरु के कार्यकर्ता ने बहुत प्रतिरोध किया, प्रोटेस्ट किया हीरे बागेवाड़ी टोल के पास. अभी उन्होंने सब लोग अभी धारवाड़ से वापस जा चुके हैं, लेकिन अभी महाराष्ट्र में कुछ चल रहा है. इसकी वजह से अभी बॉर्डर में जो प्रोटेस्ट है उसकी वजह से बेलगाम में भी पुलिसों ने नाकाबंदी लगा दिया है. इसकी वजह से आप देख रहे हैं चन्नम्मा सर्कल के चारों तरफ भी पुलिस तेरे KSRP और पुलिस को इधर नियोजन किया गया. प्रमुख इस मामले में आज जो कर्नाटक रक्षा वेदी के प्रतिभटने के टाइम में जो हुआ है, इसकी वजह से अभी कर्नाटक महाराष्ट्र के दोनों राज्यों के बस संचार में व्यत्यय हो गया.
लेकिन चंद्रकांत एक बात बताइए, वहां पर जिन्होंने उपद्रव मचाया, जिन्होंने लॉरी को जलाया, उनको क्या अरेस्ट किया गया है? और क्या ये पॉलिटिकल आउटफिट्स हैं? कौन है ये MES जो है, इनके पीछे कौन लोग हैं? अचानक इनको कैसे इतना सपोर्ट मिल रहा है, ट्रैक्शन मिल रहा है? इसमें पॉलिटिक्स कितना है और कितना एक्टिविज्म है?
ये कर्नाटक और महाराष्ट्र का जो बॉर्डर इशू है, ये कंप्लीटली पॉलिटिक्स एक इशू हो गया है, क्योंकि 18 साल से सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जो केस चल रहा है उसकी वजह से दोनों राज्यों में भी पॉलिटिक्स ये इशू लेके पॉलिटिक्स करे जाते हैं. आज तो कर्नाटक रक्षा वेदी के राज्याध्यक्ष के नारायणगौड़ा के नेतृत्व में बेलगाम को हजारों लोग प्रोटेस्ट करने के लिए आए थे. वो लोगों ने जाते वक्त एक लारी के ऊपर हमला किया है. इसकी वजह से अभी कर्नाटका महाराष्ट्र के बस संचार में व्यत्यय हो गया. और कर्नाटक के आज MES के कुछ लोगों ने DC को एक अनुरोध किया है महाराष्ट्र सचिवों को बेलगाम को आने के लिए उनको अनुमति देना, बल्कि अभी कर्नाटक सरकार ने सेक्शन 144(3) के अन्वय महाराष्ट्र के 2 सचिव और एक संसद को निर्बंध डाला है बेलगाम आने के लिए.
चंद्रकांत, धन्यवाद आपके रिपोर्ट के लिए. आई ट्राई एंड कम बैक टू यू अगर मेरे पास समय हुआ. प्लीज स्टे विद मी. विनय, व्हाट्स द अपडेट ओवर इन महाराष्ट्र? MSRTC buses have stopped flying from Kolhapur towards Karnataka. There is Shiv Sena activists who have now been arrested by the police. So is this all being fueled by politics or is it in anticipation of the Supreme Court verdict?
of this is clearly political, Anand. In fact, tension is likely to escalate in the next 24 hours, where the NCP has also given a 24-hour ultimatum saying that if violence doesn't stop, there will be reaction that will be seen in other parts. As we have seen, violent incidents have happened in Pune as well, where a where a Karnataka bus was stopped and vandalized by people there. So in fact, tension here escalating. The Deputy Chief Minister has already spoken to the Chief Minister of Karnataka and has urged that action be taken against the miscreants there. It has been a wait and watch situation for Maharashtra so far, even as tensions have escalated in Karnataka and the Belgaum region. Right now, all we hear from the opposition in Maharashtra though is that they are going to up their ante, because the Maharashtra Ekikaran Samiti seems to have approached them saying that they are being targeted there and they need the support of Maharashtra leaders. While that happens, it is likely that the tensions will escalate in the coming 24 hours. On the other hand, Sharad Pawar says that he is going to gather all the MPs from Maharashtra to meet the Home Minister of India tomorrow, even as the parliamentary session for the winter season begins there, and he's going to take up the issue in front of the Home Minister as well. So clearly this is turning into a huge political snowballing issue that will not just stop here but will possibly escalate in the parliament as well tomorrow.
What is the root cause of this escalation? That's the biggest aspect, but because both sides are pointing fingers at each other. Vinaya, stay on with us even as the winter session of Parliament will get underway. Will this now resonate in Parliament too? We'll have to wait and watch. An 18-year-old feud because of a court case that's going on. If the matter is with the Supreme Court. Harish, what is the response of the Karnataka government? Because they will have to keep tempers calm. The allegation is that all things started flaring up because a truck was torched. A Maharashtra registration lorry was torched by over in Karnataka.
In fact, Karnataka blames the Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde for stoking this entire controversy, saying that it was Maharashtra which started by saying that we propose to have our social security scheme and pension scheme extended to eligible beneficiaries in Karnataka, Marathi-speaking beneficiaries in Karnataka. And in retaliation, you had Karnataka saying we'll fund Kannada medium schools in Maharashtra and also give pension to people who took part in the Karnataka Ekikaran movement then. And that really triggered this entire controversy. We've seen last week how in Aurangabad and places very close to Belgavi border on Maharashtra side, Karnataka State Road Transport Corporation buses being tossed or at least being vandalized. Now Karnataka says that Maharashtra is actually double speaking here. They're saying, well, it was in the 60s that both the states approached the centre and the centre formed the margin committee. This was decided in the parliament. When that committee report came out, Maharashtra wasn't willing to accept that report. Now Maharashtra has gone to the Supreme Court, but Karnataka believes that this matter, whether it's between Maharashtra and Karnataka or between any other state, the Supreme Court can't decide on the borders of the state or which region goes to which state. It is the parliament which has the authority. And with now NCP saying that they'll once again approach the union government, Karnataka asking Maharashtra and its political leaders, what exactly is it that the Maharashtra wants?
Right. Vinaya, Chandrakant and Harish, thank you for your inputs. We've got plenty of ground to cover, like I'd said, right at the top of this edition of The Nation 5. So shifting focus from the Maharashtra-Karnataka border to what's happening in Punjab. Has the Chief Minister of Punjab, Bhagwant Mann, jumped the gun with respect to his claims on Goldie Brar, the wanted gangster operating out of Canada, being detained by the FBI? Now, what has happened is that days after Bhagwant Mann made this entire aspect comment and tried to confirm speculations that were doing the rounds about the detention of the mastermind behind the killing of Sidhu Moosewala, that is Goldie Brar in Canada. Goldie Brar has come out and refuted the claim. Goldie Brar resurfacing in an interview with a YouTube journalist and claimed that he is not in custody. However, the video could not be independently verified by CNN News 18. The opposition meanwhile slamming Bhagwant Mann after this entire video went viral. Bhagwant Mann claimed that Brar was arrested on the 2nd of December, but Brar claims, I am free and look, I am giving interviews, nothing's happened. Listen in to the reactions. First, what Bhagwant Mann said.
डिटेन किया उन्होंने संपर्क किया है भारत सरकार से, पंजाब पुलिस से, कि जी हमने डिटेन कर लिया, तो आप बताइए क्या इसका उसको डिपोर्ट करना है या उसकी वापसी करवानी है। क्योंकि अमेरिका के साथ हमारी जो संधि है उसी के मुताबिक हम उसको लेके आएंगे, पक्का लेके आएंगे, क्योंकि ये तो पाकिस्तान से करवाता था काम। पाकिस्तान में इसके आदमी थे, पाकिस्तान से ड्रोन आते, ये वो, तो ये गैंग एक प्रॉपर बना हुआ था। तो गोल्डी बराड़ जल्दी पंजाब पुलिस की गिरफ्त में होगा।
पंजाब की जो सरकार है उसको पंजाब की तो परवाह ही नहीं। ऐसे गैंगस्टरों का राज चल रहा है, ऐसे नशे और लिकर बिक रहा है, और हमारा मुख्यमंत्री गुजरात में जाके कह रहा है कि सिद्धू मूसेवाला के जो कातिल एक गैंगस्टर गोल्डी बराड़ है उनको डिटेन कर दिया है। इतना रिस्पॉन्सिबल पोजीशन पे बैठे मुख्यमंत्री जब ऐसी स्टेटमेंट वोटों की राजनीति के लिए देता है और गोल्डी बराड़ बाहर बैठा कहता है कि मैं तो डिटेन्ड ही नहीं हूँ, तो आप खुद समझिए कि पंजाब को चला कौन रहा है।
Hemant Atri is joining us. Hemantji, lot of things here and there, but a chief minister of a state, can he make a loose statement like this? Because if the FBI has detained Goldie Brar, the MEA would have been informed, the centre would have known, and there would have been an official confirmation of the same that would have come to Bhagwant Man's office. Or does that all not matter at all?
Anandji, first of all, let me request you for two things. First of all, I need to at least 2 minutes to articulate the whole issue, just to make all your viewers understand the technicalities of it, right? See, first of all, this issue is one of the most sensitive issues, not only not only deals with the gangsters, but it also deals with anti-national activities, separatist forces, and somewhere, narco-terrorism also. That is point number one. Number two, now I will like to explain what is the real modus operandi of Interpol. Nowadays, red corner notice is not issued. These days, red notice is issued by the Interpol on request of some of our agencies. In this particular case, it is Punjab Police. Now, Interpol doesn't inform everybody. They simply keep in every member country one nodal agency. As far as India is concerned, CBI is that nodal agency. So, to make things more clearer, let me explain it the way. If at all the gentleman who is in question, Goldie Brar, was detained, first information through Interpol would have come to CBI. Till this, I'm not blaming anybody. See, this is very sensitive, and I keep those sensitivities in mind while articulating on your channel. If at all he was detained, it would have been CBI who would be informed by the Interpol. Point number one. Number two, FBI in this particular case most likely has detained him or not detained. There is no word from FBI officially. There is no word from CBI officially. FBI or Interpol never inform a state police or for that matter a chief minister directly about anybody who is, wanted in some red notice. Right? Now, how Mr. Bhagwant Mann, while being in some other state, who is getting into electioneering mode, this is such a sensitive case. How Mr. Bhagwant Mann said this, that he has been detained and he will be brought to India very soon. See, any country with whom we are having extradition treaty also, there is a very long and cumbersome process to bring somebody back. And in Punjab gangsters case, let me also explain to you for the value addition. All these gangsters, they never travel on their original passports. They travel on fake passports. And how they do? Either their name is wrong, or their photograph is false, or their address is false. So to establish the real identity of any accused, forget about Goldie Brar, it is very difficult for the concerned country. One. Two, to bring them back, there are two ways. One is extradition. The second one is deportation. So without blaming Mr. Bhagwant Mann, I would like to ask him one very simple question. And the country would also want to know this. From where did he get this information? He has to explain it. Because this is something which is concerned with the national security also. This gentleman, Goldie Brar, is involved into all kind of anti-national activities. So, Punjab Chief Minister needs to come clear as to from where he got the information of Mr. Goldie Brar being detained. That is the only point. Otherwise, there are n number of points that you and me can discuss. The issue is, this is something very, very technical, and it has very big sensitivities involved.
So has the Punjab Chief Minister jumped the gun? Has he compromised or somewhere has he been irresponsible in the way he has conducted, especially in this matter? Because even before Bhagwant Mann came out and said this, there are elements who came out in denial. There are those self-proclaimed lawyers of Goldie Brar who are in Punjab who said, no, he's free. Would you not want to check something 3 times, 4 times before you would make a statement like this?
Anandji, precisely that is the question. See, as far as this present the issue is concerned, as per the various media claims, he was detained on 20th of November, right? Today we are on 6th of December. It is 16 days. No official word from FBI, no word from Interpol, no word from their nodal agency, that is CBI in this country. A state chief minister is claiming that he has been detained. So he should disclose what his source of information is. That is, I'm not blaming him for some wrong information or right information. But he owes a reply. From where did he got the information? I think this is a fair question. This is a reasonable one. And why disclosing so many things? See, once any interrogating agencies, in this particular case, maybe it may be FBI or Interpol for that matter, if they have not officially disclosed it, then there must be certain very solid reasons for that, if at all they have detained. So
but then there is this video of Goldie Brar which we have not, it's gone viral, we have not been able to independently verify it. He is giving out interviews कि मैं तो खुलेआम घूम रहा हूँ. He's spoken to a YouTube journalist.
आनंद जी, एक हफ्ता पहले उनके एडवोकेट चंडीगढ़ से उनका भी एक वीडियो था जो मैंने आपको भेजा है, जिसमें वो साफ कह रहे हैं कि मेरे वकील को आज तक कहीं पर डिटेन नहीं किया गया है. नाउ द इशू इज, in the first place, why did Punjab Chief Minister disclosed it? First of all, if it has to be disclosed, he should have given the source of his information, right? And there are many things. जब आप शपथ लेते हैं ना मुख्यमंत्री पद की, तो आप ऑफिस की ओथ नहीं लेते, आप सीक्रेसी की भी ओथ लेते हैं. तो मुझे लगता है कहीं ना कहीं there is a fiasco in the whole gamut of things. He said it in Gujarat. Why he said so? Without disclosing the source of his information, my question is very simple.
No, and then it should have been done in a formal setting with all the details, with the proof, and the Punjab government would have actually gone to town had it been officially confirmed. They would have done a formal press conference, and then they would have showed him in FBI custody and confirmation of him in FBI custody. A lot of things would have been done. So can you make such off the cuff remarks and get away with it? Clearly, like you said, a central agency would have known about it. It would have been the CBI that would have known about it, and the information would have come thereafter. I have to take a short break. Hemanji, I thank you very much for joining us. We'll continue to stay on this story, but be right back. When we come back, we are in conversation with the co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Melinda French Gates.
During this festivals in the district. So now ahead of that popular temple fest, again there is a call that has been given to ban for the Muslim traders. But yes, we had seen earlier as well how the state government has went forward and also had supported in some way, saying that the state government in fact stands and defends this kind of step coming in from the Hindu outfits as well, because what again the rules also states as per this Karnataka state government is also that the Muslim traders, or for that matter the other community members, should not be allowed to do business during the temple fest, especially on the premises of the temple itself. So there is a ban on that. So that had been the defense of the state government. But meanwhile, you see the Hindu outfits are continuing, and this kind of a chorus is actually growing here in the Karnataka ahead of the assembly elections.
Okay, but Ritu, what I want to understand from you is, when you take a look at Karnataka, the history is so integrated. You have an example, you have the Bappanadu temple, for example, that was built by a Muslim merchant years ago, decades and decades ago. Temples like that, I know that this year that temple saw the banning of Muslim traders. When the community is so integrated, how is such a ban even being implemented?
Very true. See that again, there's too many aspects as well that we'll also try and have to try and look after it, because one, in the Karnataka that we're talking about, you see the state heading into an assembly election, these kind of incidents have actually become very normal, where Hindu outfits are actually often coming out and saying that there should be a ban on the Muslim traders on the temple premises, because the community is often seen with the anti-national activities. Now you remember in this particular incident as well, what the Hindu outfits are actually saying is that there have been an incident incident that we have often reported of anti-national activities and the conspiracies actually being hashed against the temple itself. So thus this community should not be permitted to do a trade on the temple premises during the fair, and moreover the Hindu traders should be given an...
Ritu, I want to understand from you, how is the actual enforcing taking place? Could you tell our audiences? Because I know that such banning has already taken place in this past year, how was that enforced? What did the district officials practically actually do on the ground?
There are a couple of challenges again here. One will have to ensure that the law and order on the ground is being maintained, and again what the state government also states also becomes an important point during this juncture. So yes, now the state government also going on to defend this kind of steps, and earlier as well we had seen the ban of the Muslim traders on the temple premises. There is again likely that a similar incident will take place in the upcoming days as well during this temple fairs as well. But what we again have to try and look after is that you see India was actually badly affected during the COVID time, and we are still trying to recover from that bad moment that one had gone through economically as well. So now this is again an opportunity for these small traders to come out and do their business and somewhere economically try and manage their lives.
I just want you to stay with us for a second. We have Sankeet Yanagi from the Congress. He's with us right now, and I want to go over to him to understand more about the situation. Sir, thank you for joining us. Sir, I believe the Congress and its MLAs have come out and argued that Muslim vendors and traders are not only being prevented from setting up shop, they're also illegally being kept out of the streets leading out to the temples. Could you tell us more?
There is no doubt that it is violating one's fundamental right to carry out trade and profession. And it is also no doubt that it is politically motivated by the BJP, and more so to gain its polarization of votes for the purpose of elections. And since the BJP has nothing to say about its development in the state of Karnataka and has been involved in communal clashes or spreading the communal clashes or hatred, and somehow it wants to see that the law and order in the state should not be in control, and there should be some agitation, there should be some law and order problems, by which they want to gain political...
Sankeet, can I very quickly ask you, because we do have a BJP spokesperson with us right now, so I do want to ask you very quickly before we go over to them. The BJP has alleged again and again that it was back in 2002 when the Congress was in power that the leasing of land around temples was banned to non-Hindus. Is that accurate?
Leasing of land is different. Allowing someone to carry out trade and profession is different. There are some street hawkers, like wherein the lease will not be granted to them, they still carry out certain business, small petty businesses. Like someone is selling the balloons, someone is selling
sir, but the BJP could easily argue that what they're doing is just another version of what your party did back in 2002, where a call for a ban on Muslim temple traders continues. Remember, this is not the first time we're coming across this call. There have been reports of such calls coming in since all the way back in March this year. We've seen multiple Hindu outfits mount pressure on various temple authorities. What they're trying to do is ban Muslim traders ahead of the annual temple fairs that take place across the state. Specifically right now, though, for this story, we're focusing on Udipi. You've had traders and authorities in the area write letters to the Muzrai department to ban Muslim traders for the upcoming popular temple fairs. But again, as I told you earlier, this is not the first time that we're seeing such calls. Back in March, you'd seen appeals for such calls right before the March-May annual festivities that take place. Now, I just want to check if we have a reporter connected with us already. My colleague Ritu is with us right now to bring us more details. Ritu, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Ritu, could you just explain to our audiences this demand that's coming through that we're telling our audiences right now? If it were actually implemented, would it be legal? And how would it be implemented? How do traders hope it will be implemented? Could you tell us more?
first point is that this is not something new that we're getting to see here in the Karnataka. As Karnataka is heading into an assembly election, these incidents are actually coming into the light often now. But yes, earlier as well, we had seen this taking up a huge turn again from the coastal belt of the Karnataka itself, where in the Udupi itself we had seen a popular temple where there was again a call for the ban of the Muslim traders, because what these Hindu outfits are actually alleging is that the community which is involved in anti-national
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this very, very exclusive conversation. She's a computer scientist, she's a philanthropist, she's a doting mother. She's also one of the most powerful and influential women in the world. She needs no introduction, and it's a pleasure to be able to speak with her. Melinda Gates, namaste, and welcome to Bharat.
Thanks for having me.
7 years now since you last visited?
Yes, too long.
Has India changed for you? And if yes, what has changed?
Oh, so much has changed in India. You know, I think the digital piece is just so apparent now. I knew of all the work that was being built underneath all of that, but now to see how it's changing citizens' lives, that they can have digital bank accounts, that 470 million bank accounts have been opened, half of which are women-led bank accounts. Wow, what a change. But even to see that so many things, everybody has their Aadhaar ID card, you have your COVID vaccination on your phone. I mean, just digital has really taken off here in a powerful way, and it looks like it's changing society.
Did it surprise you that it was implemented in this scale over the last 7 years in India?
Yeah, to see how quickly it has taken off. I knew about all of the regulations that had gone in. I knew about the digital rails that were being laid. But to see it escalate so quickly, and I do think COVID had a part to do with that, right? Yeah. And I think there were a lot of tragic things that happened with COVID, but I think that's one of the positive outcomes from COVID.
You're somebody in 2016, you said women need to get into science and technology. We need to have more women technologists. Even the recent Goalkeepers report just a few months ago, you talked about not just empowering women, but giving women more power. So can you tell me a little more about where you come from, or what's the thought behind that?
Sure. Well, I think we need to have women in positions of power at all levels of society, and we aren't there anywhere in the world yet. But that means making sure our biggest sectors, whether it's technology, because that runs our society, whether it's finance, that's where money flows, whether it's politics, that's who makes our policy, whether it's media, that's who tells our stories. Women need to be there at the top. And when I say, instead of talking about empowering women, it's bringing women into their full power. So what do I mean by that? It's not enough to make sure the woman has a good job, but if she doesn't have somewhere to leave her children, a good child care, she can't be at her job as the number of hours she wants to be there. Or if a woman has a bank account, but it's not in her name, or the property's not in her name, she's not fully empowered. And so I think we need to really shift and look at the barriers around women and break those down so she can step into her full power.
How easy or difficult is it to achieve this?
Well, it depends. I mean, different societies are easier, I think, than others. But what I'll say that I'm impressed with here in India is the commitment, all the way from the Prime Minister through the various ministries of government. Prime Minister Modi has put this squarely on the agenda, and sometimes you hear Prime Minister talk about these things, but what I see is action coming out of this government. The Women and Child Welfare Department, I was with them, or Development Department, I was with them last night, hearing all the different ministries baking gender policy into their programs, seeing that the government is serious about women's health. Those are all important steps and actions that you can see happening.
The pandemic we talked about, it was tough on all of us, but you also mentioned that it was unequal to women.
Well, because it pushed so many women worldwide out of the labor force, right? So when all these businesses shut down and people were at home, finally the invisible became visible. Women are expected in every society in the world to take care of the children, and usually the elderly. Some of that's the loving work we want to do for our children and our parents, but it's also quite tedious and laborious, some of it. And so what we're seeing is that women are going back, men and women are going back to their jobs, but women aren't going back at the same rate, because there's been a crisis now in the child care sector, and they don't have anywhere to put the children. And so until we address that, you're not going to get women fully back in the formal sector.
What we saw in the pandemic was Asha workers or women across the country going across and spreading this message of wanting to, having to get vaccinated. Some of those stories are so inspiring. Do you believe the world needs to know those stories and learn from them? There are many nations that could actually follow India's template.
Oh my gosh, there are so many nations that need to learn from that. I mean, those Asha workers are the frontline soldiers. And not even before we got immunizations, I saw the Asha workers. I was home in Seattle. We were all home. I was home in Seattle cheering because I've met those women, some of them. They were out giving messages early on about hand washing, about wearing masks, about social distancing. They were creating masks. They were sewing masks and distributing. Then when there finally was a vaccine available, they were the front line of making sure people had the right information, knew the vaccine was coming, and then got people vaccinated. There isn't a health system that I know in the world that wouldn't like to have the Asha system that is here in India.
Good evening, hello and viewpoint. I'm Anusha Soni. A scathing order from a Delhi court prima facie highlights the role of Aam Aadmi Party corporator Tahir Hussain in the Northeast Delhi riots of 2020. The court, while passing the order on the framing of charges, has noted that Delhi riots and the acts of Tahir Hussain seemed to be premeditated. It was a conspiracy, the court notes. There were various voices that had defended the AAP leader earlier. He was even termed a victim. But the court sets the record straight, and the court says there is no evidence, at least for now, to say that he was a victim in the riots. The Delhi riots of 2020 was a premeditated conspiracy, and the process of law is finally catching up. Where lies the political accountability? That's the key question we ask. First up, a special report.
Nearly 3 years after riots in the capital, there is a big twist in the story. While framing charges against former Aam Aadmi Party councillor Tahir Hussain, a Delhi court said the accused targeted Hindus with a clear-cut objective to harm them and their property in every possible manner. The court order says, the facts and evidence of this case show that a number of persons assembled at the house of Tahir Hussain. Some of them were equipped with firing weapons. Petrol bombs were also arranged by accumulating the required materials in the house of Tahir Hussain. Stones were stored in this house in sacks. All these things were used to target Hindus.
Today the courts have yet again confirmed that the Delhi riots were not a sahyog but a socha samjha vote bank ka udyog and prayog, and the mastermind was Aam Aadmi Party's councillor Tahir Hussain, and the clear-cut objective was to target Hindus.
Tahir Hussain was seen in multiple videos that emerged at the time of the riots. One of the videos was tweeted by BJP leader Kapil Mishra, showing Tahir Hussain on the roof of his house carrying a lathi. Massive plumes of smoke were seen billowing up directly from the building below. Aides of Tahir Hussain positioned themselves in various parts of the building. Most of them had their faces covered. A second video is even more damning. It shows a huge mob on Tahir Hussain's roof, and they appear to be throwing petrol bombs on the crowd below.
जो दिल्ली दंगा था वो अनप्लान्ड नहीं था, वेल प्लान्ड दंगा था. ताहिर हुसैन का रोल बहुत क्रिटिकल है, बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है. इसने फंडिंग भी मैनेज कराई है.
So is the anti-Hindu plot behind the Delhi riots now completely exposed?
Various videos on social media were doing rounds. There were various police personnel who have been made a witness in this case. And all of these critical evidence have been put forward before the court of law where the framing of charges has happened. Joining us on the broadcast is a full panel of guests. Right now, I have Mr. Kapil Sankla, who's a senior advocate with us on the broadcast. Kapil, good evening. Thank you so much for speaking to us. I want to get a perspective from you as far as this court order is concerned. I'm going to read out few portions to you. These are some critical ones. And this is the part of the order where the court finally comes to a certain degree of conclusion after recording the submissions of the defense and the prosecution. It is also well apparent that this mob had assembled out of a deliberation in the house of the accused Tahir Hussain. The conduct of accused Tahir Hussain as appearing in these video clips is not consistent with such plea of being a victim. The court goes on to say it is sufficient to show that he was a member of that mob, and the role imputed to him is to instigate the mob to attack, to guide, to facilitate such an attack in order to accomplish the common object of unlawful assembly. How scathing is this order which has been passed by the Delhi court? Kapil, can you hear me? Am I audible to you?
Yes, I can hear you, please. Yes, you can. Thank you.
Good evening. Kapil, the point that I was trying to make to you, I read few portions of the court order which the Delhi court has passed today. And this is the portion of the order which where the court comes to certain degree of conclusions, prima facie speaking, because this is on framing of charges. In these portions of the order, the court goes on to say that the role that Tahir Hussain had was to incite the mob, to lead the mob, and his entire version that he was a victim of some sort is not consistent with the evidence on record. In fact, the court also says that all the houses that were targeted were Hindu houses. How scathing is this order from the Delhi court?
It's a very strong and a very substantive order. So you have to appreciate this thing, that after the investigation, the investigating officer or the agency concludes its investigation, puts it into a file, presents it before the court, which is called the charge sheet. The charge sheet is read for the first time by the court, and the court applies its mind on the charges or the documents for the first time, on the evidence on record, and comes to a prima facie conclusion whether a case is made out or not made out. This is called taking cognizance of the charge sheet, which means application of mind for the first time, judicial mind. And if the court comes to a prima facie case that charges are made out, not only that, but there seems to be strong evidence, because here the kind of allegations which are there and the charges that are framed are very important. You know, you're talking about rioting, you're talking about dacoity, you're saying prima facie Hindu houses were targeted, that his house was used as the epicenter of the violence that took place, that an officer was pulled in after his body was found in a gutter after 2 days. So these are very scathing attacks, very scathing allegations on this gentleman, on the accused in general. And what is also important is that the court has come up with a prima facie case as to the motive. Now, in any case which pertains to conspiracy, we are talking about umbrella conspiracy, motive itself becomes important. Here, the motive also has been put in by the court.
The motive has been put in by the court, and I shift the debate to the aspect of political accountability. This was an Aam Aadmi Party corporator. When he was arrested, there were various statements that were made to defend him. He even said that he's a victim. He was trying to protect people. The court disagrees. The court says that your entire version that you're a victim is not supported, and this court order is a testimony to that fact. I also have with me on the broadcast Mr. Tausif Ahmed Khan, who's an advocate, political analyst, is joining us on the broadcast. Good evening, Tausif. Thank you for speaking to us. This order, in many ways, is a answer to everyone who was trying to defend Tahir Hussain. And there were various questions that have been raised on his conduct, but this court order seals it in many ways. Yes, the case is not proven. Yes, final evidence yet has to emerge. But as Kapil was pointing out, this order is the first application of mine by a court of law after looking at the evidence from the defense and the prosecution. Wherein lies the political responsibility? Tausif.
So you see, Tahir Hussain's counsel submitted that other than bald statement of witnesses who saw him on the roof of his house, there are no other materials has been produced by the prosecution.
Okay.
Now let us please consider this. If I am defending my life and my property, I would be at my property. If I am leading a charge attacking anybody else's life and property, then I would be at somebody else's property leading the attack and charging at the property and life of the others. In our case, in Tahir Hussain's case, it is a clear case that he is defending. Now this, you see, all this is subject to the trial, and the entire process of the court is yet to be commenced. It is only mere framing of charges, and we all know that once police makes a charge, police very often, it is all proven, very often follows